great interview with Amy Dresner. And we are now back into our second half of the show with one of our favorite times of the show, the personal stories. Always very inspiring. Again, I will even throw out my utmost gratitude, that people are willing to come in and share their story again. And today we have Tia in with us today in the studio. How's it going, Tia? Good. Now, Tia, you've been a person in recovery for how long now?
15 years.
15 years.
Yep.
So we were talking a little bit, the idea of the fear of relapse, right? I think that's, with the idea of medication and things like that, doctors that's what they're doing it for, so that you don't relapse. Because if you're on medication, you're not, in their minds, you're not using, right? So what's that story specifically for you as far as relapse and relapse prevention? Like, what do you do?
Okay, well, since I found Narcotics Anonymous, right? Mm-hmm. And since I found that, I never relapsed. And that's my story. Wow. But part of that is I had to do some work. And nobody offered me medication to, it was like just, I found the program, I had to quit using drugs, or I found a solution and then I applied it, pretty much, is what happened. Right.
So that's a sort of unfortunately, a rare story in the 12-step programs, right? Like, first time sort of being introduced or coming into the program, as you would call it, and staying and have been staying for 15 years. I mean, that's a rarity, which is sad.
Yeah.
So what do you think it is? Like, you've been around long enough to see people coming in and out. What was it for you that, like, why did it stick for you? I hate saying that, but that's what I'll say right now.
I think that I had hit a bottom and didn't even know it, and then I didn't want to feel the way I felt anymore. And once I saw some happy people, and I just figured out what they were doing and did it myself. Also, a big component is helping other people, right? Okay. And I think that's one of the main reasons that I've stayed clean, is that I've actually put the work in. It is unfortunate that it's a rarity. That, right. I don't think it's not doable, because I've done it.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm unique.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of it is, this is going to sound so harsh, but lazy, right? Like, yeah. I think people don't actually want to do the work, and they'd rather be put on meds or just take the easy way out.
Right.
And let's say even 10 years ago, that wasn't even an option, right? Mm-hmm. So what's different now? Right. Like, why are we putting people on medication?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
Well, you're right. I mean, I think there's a natural mindset for most addicts in their addiction, in the denial, in the justifying, and that's that ultimate fear of feeling any sort of feelings of pain, remorse, regret, shame. Like, we don't want to feel that. Yeah. And the minute we get a little bit of sense of what that feels like without something to numb it, it's scary. And I mean, in a general term, I think that's why most people are in and out in that type of sense, right? So would you say that focusing on the positive people, the people that were, not sort of wallowing in their pity, like, that helped, you from doing that? You must have suffered a little bit in the beginning.
Oh yeah, for sure. I totally suffered. And the thing was, with me, I actually, there were some people around me that were positive, but I actually had these two friends that were pretty negative and needed help all the time, and that probably helped me more than anything.
Right, you being forced to sort of pick up for somebody else.
yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, they say that, you can be an influence and a hope, the day you get clean, right? Is that true for you? Like, did you have that sort of, like, I think as soon as we get clean, even for 24 hours, a little part of who we truly are is there. It lights up. It gets exposed, right? And so obviously there's been a piece of you that is available for people.
For sure, there was hope in that room, that first meeting I went to.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I just kept going and doing the work, and it was pretty. It was really different at first, but it just became a part of life, right?
Yeah.
And I did struggle, and I did suffer. Like I was a drug addict, and I am a drug addict, right? I just still continue to do the work, so I don't end up back where I was.
A drug addict that's not using.
Yeah,
for 15
exactly.
years.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that being said, the 12-step philosophies, the theologies, the literature, we were briefly talking about that. Did you ever get caught up or pulled back by the religious connotations of the literature, and how did you deal with that?
Well, what religious connotations? Because really there isn't any.
Okay, good. My point exactly. Why did you have to make it so
Sorry.
to the point? Well, I mean that's right. I mean it's not, but I think even from the early days of AA's literature and things like that. I mean, people will get it in their heads, right? That it's sort of cultish.
Yeah.
There's people in church basements. In circles, chanting.
Yeah, I did think when I first came that it was kind of cultish.
Yeah.
And what I've heard is like, it's brainwashing, but my brain needed to be washed. Right?
It was dirty.
Yeah.
It needed to clean.
Yeah.
Yes. On high cycle.
Yeah.
Mine too.
Sure.
Mine too. Well, you probably would have seen me at some of my best days.
Oh yeah, I did.
Early recovery.
Yeah.
Let's not go there. I'm interviewing you.
Okay.
So, okay. Did you do treatment?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so no treatment, never,
No
in your story?
When I was 10 months clean, I went to a place to deal with some other issues.
Good for you.
For, I think it was 5 weeks.
Okay. And that being said, so that's a big topic in the program that's sometimes seen as cultish or, really enmeshed, whatever. People that don't really know what's going on. Seeking outside help, right? Like, I don't think the program claims that it's a therapist or the program becomes a psychotherapist or a healer. It's a community, right? So do you support, people that if they need a little bit more help to seek outside?
Well, 100%, because I believe that, I truly believe that, if you need help, there's absolutely no shame in getting it.
Yeah. Which is true from the beginning of going to a 12-step fellowship that is there to support and offer some hope to people. Really, layman's terms, it's not doing anything. I've often thought about what are we really doing in a meeting? Like, what really happens? Right? People sit in a chair. One guy talks about himself. We do some readings. We close. We say the Serenity Prayer. Like, what just happened? You know what I mean? Like, what just happened? And if you just take a step back, what do you think? What is happening?
The therapeutic value of one addict helping another, right? Like you're an addict, I'm an addict. We know, there's some type of feeling or something you can relate to there that helps, right? Speaking from my own personal story, anytime I'm sitting with, whether it's a GP, a psychiatrist, a psychotherapist, a holistic naturopath, I've sat in front of so many attempts to get fixed, right? And there's never an equal ground. There never was an equal ground in those relationships. It was usually, me changing the story a little bit, let's just say minimizing quite a bit, about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, what I'm using, and so on and so forth. And, people trying to use their education, or their, their vocation to do what they can. And I don't think it was anything, nobody was trying to mess me up, right? But what I'm saying is, from the relationship standpoint, it was never an equal one. Whereas I could find a sense of relatability. So, what describes that relationship of a sponsor and a sponsee
in terms of a program or a 12-step?
Okay. For me, like, it really depends on the sponsee. Some of my sponsees I have a very close, tight relationship with, where they phone me with every... Because when you're new clean, I didn't even know how to grocery shop by myself, right? So, like, I get questions like that, right? Like, well, what do I buy? Like, just really simple things, life things, that you just don't have those skills because you've come off the street or whatever. And then I've got sponsees who had a fairly regular life, or, like, they just phone me to go over step work. Like, the relationships vary for me, but all of them have to be writing the steps. So... Because I truly believe that the reason I've stayed clean is the 12 steps to Narcotics Anonymous, but that's my own experience. I don't expect anybody else to have to believe in that or anything.
I appreciate that. So somebody seeking help avidly, I mean, is your form of helping other people like, picking people up that are using and giving them a place to sleep? I mean, because people don't know, right? Like, how do you help other people? Like, that's somebody's story. I got clean on so-and-so's couch, right?
Part of my story is that since I got clean, I've took people into my home, and that I'll continue to do that. And, like, I do try to find people, and I've actually networked accidentally into the community and into other communities where people have recovery houses, and people, like, I can phone people and try to get people into places, or... if I can't have them at my house for some reason, I will try to find them something. If they need food, I'll go buy them food. I just try to do my best as far as helping them, because I do know how it was to struggle. And
that's it. That's the motivation. It's just knowing what it was like for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, who else? Who else would know? You know what I mean? Yeah. To have that motivation to go above and beyond. I mean, sometimes it's like, why would you help that person? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's fleeting, especially nowadays. We're losing, so many people to overdose. You must have lost some friends along the way.
Yeah.
15 years.
Yeah, this year alone, I think it's been 11.
Wow. I was going to say, like, it's going to be hard to count, but...
And two very dear friends died this year.
Yeah.
But as many people are dying, that many people are getting clean. Like, we have to remember that, right?
Yeah. And you're so true. There's so many reports on the numbers of, it sort of continues the stigma that, like, oh, it doesn't work, or whatever we're doing now isn't working. But you're right. I mean, how many times does 11 people that are taking 5 years clean end up on the news?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it's not a report. It's not an interesting report yet. It is.
Yeah.
Like, it's massively interesting. Like, you sitting here, having been introduced to a community of recovering addicts, and working through pain, working through struggles, seeking help, like moving forward, turning around, helping those that need a hand up. I mean, that is so interesting.
So like you're saying the news, so-and-so went to the grocery store for the first time and bought bread and milk. That's not on the news, Derek?
That would be a good report. I would be interested in that,
and if
right?
you're interested in treatment and recovery, apparently you can reach Tia at 604. She's a great resource.
It's funny because, again, all I have is my own experience, but that's almost what the big problem was after I stopped using, was that I was just I was 28, so I was an adult man without experience.
Yep.
And not, I mean, I could do other things. I could play volleyball, I could drive a forklift, you know what I mean? All of these skills that I acquired along the way. But what I was inexperienced at being a 28-year-old man, right?
Yeah.
And it was like, as soon as I quit the drugs and got through the detox, I was like, what, problem solved, right? Like, I'm not going to be so self-aware at that point to admit I am an inexperienced individual that's frightened at everything, worried about going into the grocery store, and gonna go and ask somebody that looks like they're doing okay, to tell me everything I'm horrible at. You know what I mean? So I would think, right? But it's sort of it, isn't it? I mean, we're we're just frightened people, and like yourself, that need, the only thing to wake that fright up, or you know, or to, you know, put it in the back seat is a little sense of hope.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is too, is I truly believe the answer isn't medication, it's people helping people. So
Yeah.
the more people that reach out and say, I'll help you, the better, right? Like, I think it's the solution, right?
Do you
Like,
think
we as addicts helping other addicts, like, it's always been the solution.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you think enough people are doing that?
I don't think enough people are reaching out and saying, I don't know how humble it is actually to say, like, I'll help you, like,
Yeah.
publicly, but at the same time, it kind of needs to be done, right?
Yeah. So, on that note, for those of you in a 12-step fellowship, in a community of one addict helping another, sponsor. I mean, you know, as soon as you've gotten through that hurdle and initial steps, like, turn around and be there for people. I mean, it's what your story has been since the beginning.
And not just sponsor, but, like, just be there for people, right? Like,
Yeah.
like this, the program, 12-step programs work, right? They're there for a reason. And there's other resources too, right?
Mm-hmm. That important note, there's other resources, there's outside help for dealing with situations and issues that, you know, possibly the people that are just people, we're just people,
Yeah.
right? That don't have the professional ability to help out in that way, but can definitely, like, you must have so many resources and so many, you know, contacts for anything, any form of help, eh?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I've personally got, like, financial help, I've got counseling for different things. And like I said, I don't believe there's any shame in it. Like, I think if you need help, get help, right? Like, that stuff has all been free. Like, in BC, we have a lot of free resources.
So take advantage.
Yeah.
Tia, thank you so much for coming in today. It means so much to our show. It means so much to our listeners and our viewers on Facebook Live. You know, for putting yourself out there and sharing your story and telling us, like, it definitely works. And people can live a good, solid, clean life, healthy life, you know, being available for other people.
For sure.
Thanks.
Thanks
for coming in. Talk Recovery, Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, we're on air every Thursday, 12 to 1. And stay tuned for World Poetry Cafe. This is the Paolas. Never Said I Love Ya.
Bye!
Sure.